Hey guys, Sergeant Nards here with a quick instructional video on how to modify your rotor hopper for use with a warp loader, specifically the SgtWarp. The rotors are great. I love the R2. It's what I specifically use for myself. They just need a little more oomph, so we're going to do that today. I'm going to add a little extra spring tension. This can be accomplished by either adding a small spacer or giving a little extra spring tension to your tension rod, and I'm going to show you how to do that today. I love these rotors. They're just a little gentle on paint, and to overcome the upwards pressure in the warp loader, you just have to modify them a bit. So here we go. Brand new in the box R2. Like I said, I use this myself. This thing is great. You can keep up with speedballers when they're tuned correctly. All you have to do is take it apart, and here's what we're going to do. Take the top cover off. Oop, like that. Sorry, a little aggressive, but this is brand new and it's gonna stick. Then the next thing you're gonna do is take out your feed tray. Pretty easy. You can do this with your hands. I like using a small tool because it just makes things a little easier. You definitely don't want to force anything, but as long as you're gentle with that tool, it's fine. And you're gonna push the buttons in the back here, and off comes your feed tray. Pretty simple. Brand new. Here's what your internals look like. What we need to get to is the motor at the back. So we're going to take out the internals, take out the gears, and then take off these keeper tabs and pull out the motor. Comes out like so. There we go. Don't need that right now. What we're trying to get to now is the back. So here's where your buttons are. You can see the power button there. And what we really need to get to is the tension rod. This hole right here fits a 1/8 inch Allen key. All you have to do is unscrew it. And it is under spring tension, so be careful. What I like to do is unscrew it with a little bit of pressure on it, and then take it out. You can see the spring there. Let's put it upside down so we don't lose it. And here we have our tension rod with spring. So the stock spring is good. It pushes paint just fine. It just needs a little help, like I've said before. So I'm going to put a picture of this thing right here. Boom, picture. It's a spring. As long as it fits, you can use it. So if it's a pencil spring or if it's an extra trigger spring you have lying around, go for it. Same thing can be accomplished with about a 1/2 inch spacer on the back. It just needs help. So here's the spring I'm using. I don't need the whole thing. All I need is about a 1/2 inch of it. So I'm going to take my cutters here and cut it down. Here we go, and boom, there we go. Yep, okay. I'll only manage to lose half of it, so that's good. Springs, man. So, got our 1/2 inch piece of spring. What I'm actually going to do is put it behind the original spring. I like the original spring being the one to act on whatever it is inside that it's pushing on. So you can see my whole rod here is covered with spring. Now I'm going to re-tension the motor here, so just insert the tension rod back in and screw it down. Now you really only need this to be about flush with the motor itself. As you screw it down, I'm going to make it flush. If you are noticing that you're still having trouble feeding, then you can definitely screw it down a little bit more. You just want it to give enough pressure to overcome the gravity that it takes to feed that SgtWarp. Now, couple universal things for warp feeders in general, specifically the SgtWarp is what I'm going to talk about today. Things that'll definitely help you out be more successful. Use brand new shiny paint. Probably helps if I put the batteries in this thing. It's not going to work very well without them. But use brand new shiny paint. Make sure it's hard. Make sure it's good to go. The soft tournament paint, something like that, it's probably not going to be your best bet because there is a little bit of pressure that gets developed when the motor is on. So here, see, we have our motor here on, and we'll just strap that down. Perfect. And we'll go back the way we came. So it's important that you align your motor with your anti-jam fin here on the back. Just click it in, and if it clicks in smoothly, and I'm having a bit of trouble there. And yeah, doing this live. Here we go. Okay, so as long as the motor sits in flush. You can see me torquing that fin there, making sure everything's working. Here's the gear. Yep, it's working. As long as it sits flush without force, you're probably in the right spot. And then put your gear back in, make sure everything's lined up, and the feed system back in as well. Seat everything nicely. Everything should fit in. Oh, yep, you know what? It helps if you actually put your keeper tabs in. This thing's designed really well. You know, it'll let you know if you did something wrong. So I couldn't get that feed tray in. That way I knew something was wrong. Okay, so get everything back in. I like to put a little tension down on it and check the anti-jam to make sure everything's working correctly. It should work. Push the button. Yep, everything's working great. So that's my test to make sure things are lined up and working correctly. Now we can put our feed tray back in, and we're going back the way we came. So make sure that your tabs are in the right spot, and click this in. Takes a second to get it aligned. I would suggest reading your manual on how to do this. Don't follow my instructions on how to take it apart, but get familiar with your manual. Don't break your real expensive new hopper. Put your tabs back in. Very easy. And re-engage the lock in the back, and you're good to go. Now, yep, there we go. See, everything's nice and aligned. Put your cover back on. This one is brand new, so it's a little harder to get back in place, but we'll get there. Main thing is you don't want to like force anything. You don't want to break anything. I'm using a little more force than I want to, just because this is so new. But you take this thing apart a couple times, it'll be a little easier to get done. Make sure everything is aligned. Big dumb fingers. Here we go. Oh, see, there we go. Things weren't aligned. That's what the clue is. Disengage your lock and you're good to go. Okay, so let's take this thing out now that it's been modified to put a little bit more, and let's shoot it. So here we have the modified SgtWarp ready to go, shooting as fast as you can.